really decreased.
Yes. Us just venting our trauma.
Just venting. It's
I
fine.
know.
We could be filming a school project.
Yeah. We're in high school.
No, I had an interview in French.
You
It went
told
so...
me. Welcome back to my channel.
Can we do that thing where we go like 1, 2, 3?
Welcome back to my channel.
Plot twist, it's mine all along.
I'm here with a special guest, bestie Jess. And we're gonna be doing 5 things we wish we knew as freshmen because we just graduated.
Is this 5 things each or 5 things together?
What do you think?
I think we should start and see how we go.
Okay. I honestly think maybe total because I can't think of anything.
I can't think of many things.
Let's do total.
Yeah, okay.
5 things in total.
Alrighty, so number 1, I think we've already talked about it,
Mm-hmm.
but incoming freshmen,
Beware.
beware. Actually, it's not that bad, first of all. Secondly, UofT has a credit no credit system where essentially you get, is it 4 in total?
Yeah.
So there's
2.0 credits.
Yeah, 2.0 credits that you can essentially pass fail as long as they're not part of your major. So any like extra courses you take, and they can't be part of your minor either, so they're literally electives.
Yeah. These will literally save your butt because we learned the hard way. I've mentioned it in my other videos. You can watch my previous UofT videos. They're in a playlist. But they essentially will count your grade on a pass-fail basis. So if you're not doing well by, let's say, like...
There's a specific date that they give you.
Yeah, so there's a deadline, so make sure you check that out. But make sure that you credit no credit your class that you think you might not be doing as well in. And that way, your GPA will be safe.
Yeah, because at UofT, I mean every university, you have a CGPA, which is like the average, right, of all your courses together. And for example, having a spicy like 30 or something, or even a 50 or whatever, is significantly lower than your grades. A spicy 30. That's what we're gonna go with.
Yes.
That will like really impact your GPA, and of course, grad schools and everything like that. You know, even if it doesn't impact your GPA too much, they'll still be able to see it, right? Yeah. And like you never know what's gonna like tip the balance in your favor, but the most important thing is to use them in your first or your second year.
Yes, that's the big thing.
Because I think both of us going into it, we're like, okay, 3rd or 4th year is going to be the hardest. It's going to be the worst because it's like an upper year situation. So I'm going to save my credit no credits. But actually, don't do that.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, your classes are huge in first year and also in second year. Even if you go to office hours, your profs aren't going to be the one grading your assignments. So getting to know your prof, I mean, getting to know your TA might help, but in the long run, it's not like getting to know your profs is going to give you connections, but not going to change your grade. Yeah. But like upper year courses, if you're in like a 15 or like even a 50-person class, like if your prof knows you and like you've gone to talk about your assignment with them, or like you've gone to talk about your interests with them, and then they see you, they will give you, not like explicitly, but I think like implicitly they will decide to give you like maybe go easier on you. Yeah, exactly.
So that's our first tip. The second thing we didn't know,
I can't think of anything else.
Maybe actually talking to profs. Maybe did you know that? Maybe you did.
I did, but I really tried to avoid doing that for so long.
Yeah, but like why? You know, like at the end of the day. What did you end up?
I did end up talking to profs. But it's like so important. Yeah.
So that's tip number 2 that we didn't know, is to go talk to your profs or your TA. And like, don't be afraid to ask them questions about your assignment or your class in general. Yeah, and also don't be afraid to talk to your profs. And talking to profs is really important for more than just your grade as well. Like, as you go, you know, if you're planning to go to grad school or any kind of postgraduate studies or even jobs, profs like will give you a reference. And I find that profs get nicer as you get through university. So even if you're in first year and you go to talk to a prof and like they are really dismissive or rude, and some of them are like that because they're teaching like 600 kids in one class, and that's just like a tiny percentage of what they do every day. But in 4th year, like they kind of, a lot of them do want to see you succeed because they know you, and they know you as like a young professional rather than just like a random person who happens to be in their class. Number 3, I feel like the most important going into your first year is to make sure you prioritize like yourself.
because like
And
no
your
matter
interests.
no matter where you are going, like if you're staying in your hometown or if you're leaving, if you're staying at home or you're moving out, like no matter that, university is your time to like get to know yourself and like try new things. And I know everyone says it and it's the kind of advice that you hear.
Generic ass advice.
Yeah, so generic.
Yeah.
But it's so like important, and you're like really thinking about like, okay, does this like serve me and like my future and my like future career and where I want to be? And you don't have to be like intense about it, but just like focusing on yourself rather than getting wrapped up in like other things
or comparing yourself with how other people are doing. That, you know, it continues throughout university, but knowing like how you work specifically, whether that be maybe having a heavier course load and like less extracurriculars or not going out as much, or maybe if you need to go out like more so that you can, you know, relax and then do better in school, knowing that I feel like is really helpful.
And it's also like a lot of people are come across, well, if you're in a relationship and you're going into first year and you're thinking like, a lot of people say like just break up with them, you know, you're starting your university career, and I think there's a lot of sense in that, but I think it comes down to this question of like, does this relationship serve you, and is it going to help you or is it going to hinder you, right?
Oh, big facts. Yeah, both agree on that.
Both agree. We both started in a relationship.
Yeah, we both did. Number 4.
I don't know, it's gonna be really intense. Like I remember
at first
like the first like frosh week was incredibly intense.
Oh my gosh.
But also like the first month, really, you're just constantly meeting new people and people you don't know, and you have to figure out how to introduce yourself. I feel like when I started, I was really shocked that people would like hold out their hand and be like, nice to meet you, and they'd have like a little like sentence prepared that they'd say,
like a pickup line.
Like, a pickup line, but like a platonic pickup line.
Yeah, I guess maybe in that sense, like maybe things we didn't know was the fact that we would make so many friends in those first few months or that first year where you're living on res. But your friend group will get smaller, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's just part of growing up.
You'll meet a lot of people in like the first week or the first month or like the first year that you're not going to be friends with in 4 years' time.
Exactly.
And it's just because everyone is kind of has no friends, and everyone is being like, I need friends.
Yeah.
And a lot of people you will stay friends with. Like we met on like what, the first day?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But like
we weren't like super tight right away. Like
I was sleeping on your floor within like 2 weeks.
Okay.
I was sleeping in your bed.
We're back. Sorry about that mishap. Even though it's probably just 1 second for you, that was like
a long time.
For us.
It's like 5 minutes.
Yes.
Are we still on number 4? Was number 4 the handshake situation?
Yes. Or? Number 4 was meeting friends. We were pretty much good on number 4.
Yes.
I think editing me will know.
Editing you will know. Editing you will be like, we didn't even
we didn't even talk about number 4. We just kept going.
As a degree can't count.
If you like our backdrop, give it a thumbs up.
Give it a thumbs up because this isn't our fence.
Okay, number 5. This is the final one, so it better be big and juicy.
I really thought number 5 was gonna be the final one, but I'm currently editing and we still have 38 minutes of footage, so buckle up.
I feel like number 5 is just like you right now is gonna be the same person who graduates in 4 years. And like you're gonna go through things and I think it's really tempting to think of starting university and moving somewhere as this like fresh slate, and in some ways it really is. And like you do have that option to completely reinvent yourself, but like most of it is gonna be exactly you now, just kind of going through things and being like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing.
The foundation of who you are will remain the same,
and you will feel 17 for a long time even though you're not. So like the person you are, even if you don't feel capable of it, you like are, and you can like get through it.
Yeah. So believe in yourself, seriously.
Wow, this took like a really
very motivational pep talk.
I feel like one of those guys on YouTube that has like 5 ways to like slay your 2020 budget. Like
they do it really aggressively, and it's like an explosion effect each time. Oh, final one.
Number 6.
Number 6.
Yes.
This is an extra.
Just for you.
Textbooks. If you go to UofT, there are multiple ways to get textbooks. The main way, of course, is the bookstore, but they sell them for quite expensive. So if you can find it on like a Facebook group where they either sell used textbooks, which there is, so definitely search that up, or Tusby, which is another website to get.
Oh, many things I didn't even know. This is all new to me.
Okay, all right. So Jess is learning too. After our degree, there are just different ways to get. What are your ways?
I'd either buy them or I'd like illegally download them. I'm fairly certain I did that. I did buy a lot of them online, or like you can buy PDF versions from the bookstore that are kind of cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yeah, and you can also rent from the bookstore, which I did a couple times, which is a fun way to save money in the moment. But at the end of the day, you don't get like a textbook to sell or anything, and you haven't saved like a large amount of money.
Right.
So you do have to give it back.
Yeah.
And some things you do want, like for a longer time. Like I don't need
if you like the book too.
Yeah, if you like the book, and once you get into like upper year courses have less textbooks.
Yeah.
First of all, but also like if you do get them, it'll be like theory or something you might need like later on in your career, especially if you want to do like further work
studies.
Yeah.
And something I tend to do was actually waited for after the first class. Sometimes the prof will say, "Oh, you actually like don't need this textbook," or you can wait for a bit, or like there are different ways to get it. Yeah. So definitely don't like hop. I know it's like so easy to just hop on that bandwagon to buy your textbooks,
especially in like the first year where you're like, I want to show up to class and have my textbook.
Or like pre-read your textbook, which I know a lot of y'all out there pre-reading your textbook.
A lot of people do that. But you don't have to.
You really don't have to.
What else? I feel like there's more things.
I think there definitely are.
Renting. So we both lived off campus from second to fourth year. Fourth year semi-not because of the pandemic. But a lot of people, it really depends on your college, like how many upper years stay on campus in residence. But in first year, when you're making friends, and if you do plan to like rent, you need to make a friend. Like most people in Toronto lived with like one other person that I knew. But you need to make, it doesn't need to be a close friend, but you need to know someone so that like when you start looking in March or February, because it sneaks up on you so fast. Yeah. Then you have someone to be like, hey, you want to live together, and you get a roommate, because you don't want to be like left alone and then have to find. Like it's better to live with an acquaintance. I feel acquaintance. It's better to live with an acquaintance that you kind of know. I don't know why he's walking in circles. Than a complete stranger, you know?
Yes. Very true. We both lived on the Bay Corridor, like actually right across the street from each other. That was a good time. I think the rent was like
it's a semi-expensive place to live. It's definitely not as expensive as like the Annex.
Right.
Or I feel like there's other condos that were
like the financial district. Or something like that. But
it was a good place to be. For a university. It was really close to campus and super close to like 3 different grocery stores.
And Eaton Center, walking distance to the water, like 10 minutes to school. It was really good. Yeah.
Should we talk about jobs?
Oh yes. Okay, this is not even a 5 things anymore, so
we're just going for it.
We're just going for it. Jobs, things we wish we knew.
Like, what was your work experience in university?
Okay, in university, first year I didn't do anything like.
Sorry. Could you repeat that?
I didn't do anything related to my career, my degree. So I just taught it at like a random summer camp thing, like in Markham. But then the second year, I did an internship at the NATO Association of Canada, which is like on Yonge Street near the water. Unpaid internship, might I add.
Cries.
So yeah, that was a bit cries, but it did offer me like a lot of opportunities afterwards. So I'm like, it's okay. That year of pain is okay. Third year, I got a job with the government, and then I continued working all the way until recently. So that has been my job experience.
But and you worked in high school, right? You had like...
Yes, I worked at frozen yogurt shop and at Winners for high school.
Wow.
Fun. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I taught piano in high school, but aside from that, I did mostly like extracurriculars and didn't work. Which I think is fine, and I think a lot of people do that, but I found that at the end of my first year, I had like nothing really to put on my resume to be like, hire me please. So I worked at Subway that summer, which was an experience, but it did prepare me for my second job, which was Second Cup. And I worked at Second Cup like part-time.
Yeah.
For like a full year. During school. And I worked the opening shift, which was like 6 to 1, 3 times a week. And that was rough, but it was good. Money.
Yeah.
Never got a work study, unfortunately. If you can't get a work study,
Yes.
get a work study.
I forgot to mention work studies on CLNX.
Yeah, and like also getting involved in clubs is super useful for your resume. Because clubs,
Agreed.
that's a big thing. I didn't know that you had to apply with a resume and a cover letter to clubs. I thought you could just be like, hi, I'm interested, and then
like high school.
But you get there and you like the first week you have to have a resume that you can like hand in if you want to be involved in clubs in first year.
So you have to treat it almost like a job in a sense. The commitment, I would say, generally is a lot higher. Of course, there are some clubs that are like less.
It really varies.
It does vary. Like less engagement versus like very, very high, which you have experience in, like with the very high engagement club. Regardless, I think with extracurriculars or anything actually that you can put on your resume is really helpful.
Yeah.
So don't like.
You want to start building that early. And if I could go back, like that's what I would do.
Yes.
Because I feel like I took so much time. Yeah, and I didn't get involved in anything because it was so intimidating. But just do it because you're gonna have to get involved at some point. So you might as well just do it like now when
Make
you're
it
in first
easier
year.
for yourself.
Yeah. Benefit your future self.
Don't be afraid. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Seriously.
Yeah. And tip number eight. Tip number 8, I think, is like do the obvious self-care things. I feel like a lot of people arrive and they like a lot of people do thrive, but a lot of people are missing like either essential skills or like forget to do things. Like make sure you know how to do laundry for yourself before you leave. Remember to eat vegetables and drink water. And it's like such basic things, but like there were people that we knew like distantly who didn't have these life skills or like these like self-care. Like basic self-care, and as a result of that like really impacted their mental health and like their academics and their physical health. So just make sure you do like the really, really boring things, because that's kind of like part of what moving out
entails. Yes. And it prepares you for adulting.
It really does, because after there's going to be like a little switch where people stop being like the kind of crazy chaotic teenager, and people are going to have to start having like full-time jobs and things, and it's almost instant almost instant, and it feels like if you can really throw you off. But like if you're someone who makes sure they eat, like you don't have to eat super healthy, you can just like make sure you're taking care of yourself. Nutrified. Yes. Make sure you're eating one thing of each food group, maybe once a day. Something as simple as that, or even drinking water after you drink. Yeah, something like that. Before you drink, anytime. Exactly. Eat before you drink responsibly. Yes. A big tip is like making sure you do pull it together, because at the end of the day, you're there like for your education. It's not like a mom. This is what we got after 4 years. 4 years. Yeah, no, it's true though. And you have to think about like the fact that maybe in high school, if you didn't go to a private school or an international school, you're paying for your education for the first time. Yeah. Out of pocket. I don't know, each day it doesn't feel like you're paying for it because you're not making like payment each time you go to class. But when you think of the amount on your acorn and you look at your balance, you're just like the total number of dollars that like, I really or paid. Your family has contributed to you. Exactly. Yeah. Don't skip class. They're really coming thick and fast now. Like everything I ever wish I knew. Don't skip class. And would you recommend not skipping any classes, or would you say if there are some classes that maybe aren't as engaging or you think aren't as useful, would you still suggest skipping? I'd say that unless you're going to pass-fail the course, go to as many classes as possible, unless you've got like the flu or something. Just try and go, because at the end of the day, like even if you're having a really awful day and you're like, I wish I could just like go for a walk, or like I want to hang out with my friends, I don't want to do this, it's a Friday afternoon, you're gonna have a midterm and you're gonna be trying to go through material that you don't know because you didn't go to that class. And if it's a choice between going to class and doing the readings, go to class, because that will tell you exactly what you need to know. Yeah, and sometimes they cover the readings again in class. Yeah, sometimes they don't. Like going to class isn't an exchange for the readings, but if it's one or the other, go to class. Did you ever skip class in first year? Oh, I skipped so much class. Yeah, me too. It was terrible. We didn't do, actually, to be honest, very well in our second years. We kind of suffered a little bit academically, but I think we've learned lessons from that, and we've sort of pulled it together. Yeah. We're both going somewhere soon, so like we both have postgraduate things to do and things. Also, like, don't punish yourself if you have like extenuating circumstances that impact your education. Definitely. And don't like feel, because you're dealing with that, you might have missed out on like other things like extracurriculars or like your GPA may be lower and
Yeah.
stuff. And although you can't know what's happening in other people's lives, like, because if you had something like that, anything,
It would impact how you are,
exactly,
whether you're doing school or not.
Yeah.
On that note, what are some supports we have
That's
like
true.
at
This is
school
a very good
in case something does happen, which shit happens all the time?
Yeah. We're back again.
Oh my gosh.
What a day. Supports. First of all, don't be afraid to reach out, because literally so many people do.
Yeah.
And so many people, the thing about university is that you lose the kind of, I feel like in high school you have your parents, you have teachers who know you and see you every day.
Yeah.
And are so involved that, like, if something happens to you, they'll notice and they can scoop in with their safety net and kind of pick you up and get you to where you need to be. But in university, like, your profs don't care if you stop coming to class. Your parents, unless you're living with them, aren't going to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're super close or whatever. The only people who'll know are going to be your friends who are going to be dealing with things themselves and you. So, like, one of the big differences is you have to reach out for support yourself, which can be incredibly difficult, especially if you're reaching out for help, but like, go do it.
Besides friends and family, there's also campus support. So whichever college you're part of, they should have like a wellness section.
Yeah, like we were at Trinity.
And there was wellness there.
Yeah, there was
health
and it was called like health and wellness.
Yeah.
And this lady, she wasn't a therapist or anything. She had like a nursing degree. But
did she?
Yeah, but her role was to essentially you go to her and say like, I need help. Like, I'm struggling with this in my life, and she would kind of connect you to campus supports. Right. Be that like therapists or counselors associated with the college or the university, or like specific centers to deal with like other
whatever
things,
you need help with,
you know, or like direct you to CAMH and stuff like that, because she was like in Toronto and knew both like on campus and off campus things to like support you, and also she would support you.
Definitely don't feel like you're alone, because I feel like it's very easy to feel alone, especially if you're at the St. George campus and sometimes you never see people again. Like, you will walk past hundreds of people a day. There's a lot of anonymity with going to school in Toronto and going to like these huge classes where sometimes people don't talk. Like, people generally
won't talk to you.
They won't.
I made virtually no friends like from my lectures.
Yeah, me neither.
Which was completely the opposite
Honestly,
of what I expected.
Depressing.
It was very depressing, and I'm like, there were people I would talk to every week, but most of those like didn't end up being lasting friendships, even if we did like study outside of class together and stuff.
They're like friendships of convenience.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, maybe your experience will be different.
Yes.
But I feel like maybe because UofT doesn't have a huge like social life, like there's definitely things, you know, the nightlife scene's really good in Toronto, as you'd imagine. We have frats and like Greek life that you can get involved in, but aside from that,
if you're not within those two realms, it's like
a lot of people are there to work, which is different from what I hear from other universities where they're like Queens or Western.
Yeah, with like Foco.
Yeah,
football games.
Our like Foco was like what we had like a pumpkin decorating thing in a quad.
Oh my gosh,
and
I remember that.
I never went, but I don't think many people went.
No,
like it's not a big thing.
No, it's not. And that's not to say the social life is dead. It's more like the campus cultivated social life is virtually non-existent.
Yeah,
so
and you have to
go out
work
of your
harder
way
to like integrate yourself.
Exactly. Budgeting.
Manage your money.
You're in a big city.
You're
gonna want to spend your money.
People, if you have friends, which you will, are always, because it's just like there's so many things to do. People be like, hey, let's go to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Let's go out for dinner. Let's go out for lunch.
It adds
up
so quickly.
Yeah.
I think I had a bigger issue with it like in the earlier years, because it was still, I mean, it's still fun and fresh, but it's like a different fun and fresh. But then you realize when you look at your bank account numbers that it's not so fun and fresh. So just allow yourself a budget. Maybe like, depending on how much money, maybe you have a job or you get an allowance or you don't make money at all, allow yourself maybe like a monthly allowance.
Yeah.
And then try to limit yourself within that allowance.
And, you know, try and focus on like what you want to spend your money on.
Yes.
Because unless you're really privileged, you're not going to be able to like spend a large amount of money in every category of your life, like clothes, food, travel, whatever. So like you have to pick what you want.
For me personally, with my food budgeting, I wouldn't go out of my way. Like if it was just me eating, I would just go home and make some food and then save that food money for when I'm going with like you or like my other friends, just so that it wouldn't be like me going out for myself and then me going out with my friends. Like That would just be too much money.
Yeah. Also, like, I found it really helpful to save or allocate money for food for either like emergencies or finals. So like, if you do not have time to cook, you know, you say your finals. I remember eating like a huge pack of tortellini, and like that was my meal for like the whole week because I just didn't have time, and that's not healthy.
Yeah.
So I remember like going to pick up like a salad or like soup or something that was like very nutritious. That could just like kind of give you that extra energy boost.
I think we've both had extremely heavily carb-filled days.
I mean, yeah,
it's a thing. It's okay.
It's a thing. A really helpful tip is to like batch cook something semi-healthy, like a stew or a curry, something that has like protein and veggies in.
Yes.
And then when you don't have time.
We're in a public park, by the way.
Yeah, very public. Guys, I'm trying to give you my meal tips about curry. It's really important for your success.
It is. While this happens, what is your favorite like recipe? Your go-to that is healthy, that is quick to make, pretty affordable? Do you have one, or like what is it?
Yes, Thai red curry, because you can have the curry paste like in your fridge forever. You can have a can of coconut milk in your cupboard.
You can.
Whatever protein, I use like chicken most of the time, or like even fish sometimes I'll put in it, and then like whatever veggies you have, and you can really bulk it because like meat's so expensive. You can really bulk it out with like a ton of vegetables, and then you get like a pretty big curry that you can freeze a lot of, and it freezes really well, and it's flavorful and like.
And it goes with rice.
It goes with rice. It goes with noodles.
That's her go-to recipe, y'all.
That's my go-to recipe.
Keep it in your head. Make it yourself.
What about you? Do you have one?
Okay, my go-to is actually not healthy, but I came up with a good one in 4th year. So my go-to for all 3 years was basically just like boxed mac and cheese, like KD. Don't do that because it's like not nutritious, but it's purely just to fill you. In 4th year, what I did was actually I made a soup. You can keep it for a long time and you can just reheat it in the pot.
Sorry. Continue.
So the soup, it's literally just you cut up potatoes, cut up tomatoes, cut up carrots. Maybe if you have an onion, throw that in there. Put some garlic in there. If you have chicken, like leftover chicken or chicken broth, pour that in there, water, boil it for half an hour. You're drinking a healthy.
That's really tasty sounding.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost too much either. I would literally go to Metro and pick up one single carrot or one single tomato because I'm just feeding myself.
Really
worth a try. If you're just lazy like me.
Did you make anything to like? Oh, you have the iconic pesto pasta and edamame though.
Yes.
That is like, whenever I make that, I think of you. You're like, I made that for you once.
I'm like, I mean, you know what? I just take everything I have in my fridge and I put it all together, and that is what came out.
It works out that way.
Yeah, it really does. I don't know what number tip we're on. I don't think we.
I think we've
counting.
Devolved into like. Make sure you have a hobby.
What's your?
I like to read, but that's not a great hobby during the school year because. I find at least that I get to this point where it's like too much reading because I'm reading for my classes. So then I just like, what is my hobby? I like to go for walks. That's a really good hobby. But like, make sure you have something that doesn't have to go on your resume that you enjoy, and it just makes your life feel a little bit better. Because then at least if you're not doing so well in school or you're like feeling less confident about your career or whatever is happening, at the end of the day, you still have that hobby that like rounds out your life. I think these are life tips.
Yeah, these are not just uni tips, they're life tips. Yeah, my hobby was, I guess I have a couple. Like I like to go on walks. I had a couple blogs, so if I was like bored, I would write in it. YouTube near the end, just walking though. I actually, because like Toronto is so nice to walk in, there's so many places to see. Like it never gets boring. So.
Yeah. No, I used to like on days if I was having a rough day, I could just like walk out my door. And I'd just go for like a 6-hour walk. And that was, you know, it's great. You come home, it's like 5 p.m. You make yourself dinner and you're already like physically exhausted. Yeah. And you just like do something before you go to bed and then go to bed.
Yeah.
And like, it's a day, you've gotten fresh air, you've gotten exercise, you know. Nothing a little walk can't fix.
Yeah, honestly. So go walk, go explore. Don't spend your whole time in the city.
Get off the campus.
Yes.
That's something I remember talking to, I think it might have been like a counselor or someone in like the first month And I was like, it's so, like, I find it so relaxing to get off campus because then you're taken out of this, like, little UofT bubble.
Yeah.
And you're in the city where people are doing all different sorts of things, have all different backgrounds, have had all different experiences that have impacted them at different times.
Yeah.
Counselor was like, that is something that, like, I tell everyone as well, because you know, it takes you out of yourself and your life and, you know, helps you grow.
The exposure.
Yeah.
Don't miss out on that exposure, because I don't think there's any other city that's that like compact and diverse besides maybe like New York City. Take advantage of opportunities outside of school too.
Yeah.
So whether that be like volunteering for an organization or, you know, getting a job.
I would tend like getting a job. Like a lot of my really good memories of Toronto come from just working at Second Cup.
I would go visit her.
I feel like that's a lot of like my university-based tips. I have like lifestyle tips.
Ooh.
But like, you know, like nightlife.
Oh.
You know,
Living in Toronto tips.
living in Toronto tips. That might be a different.
Video.
To save your core storage.
In that case, then we'll end this video here. But we might do a lifestyle tip video, Toronto related video in the future. So definitely stay tuned for that. And
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. It's been months in the making.
It's been months.
Just on the
We
channel.
haven't seen each other in a very long time.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Yeah, if you have any other questions actually related to UofT or campus
leave them
life
in the
or
comments.
anything, leave them in the comments. We'll try to get to them. And we hope you have a good day. Bye.